Hi, pal, and welcome to season 2 of I've Got Your Back, the podcast. I am so excited that this season is going to be about entrepreneurship. So, if you are an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur and you're curious about how to be one, what it means, how do you embody the mindset, or how do you create ways to become an entrepreneur, and any lessons there are in being an entrepreneur, then this season is for you. Speak to you soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode 8 of this season's I've Got Your Back, the podcast. So it's all about entrepreneurship. And I have the honor and pleasure of having one of my besties on the call, Meg McLean. Hello.
Hi, last but by no means least.
Last but no means least, I saved the best for last. I just feel as if this is going to be hilarious. It's going to be full of wisdom and fun. Actually, that's what I feel it's going to be. So, for those of you listening, I just wanted to invite Meg on because Meg and I have known each other. Oh goodness, we met in the summer of 2005 in Wildwood. Is it 2005?
Can we tell that story?
Yeah, we should tell the story. Do you want to tell it or will I do it?
I'll tell it. So
okay.
We were going, because my version of events will be more accurate than your version of events. That's why I want to tell it. So we were going to work in America. So I had planned my job, planned my accommodation to go to the other side of the world as a teenager to work in America. And
you weren't a teenager, you were like 23, 22?
No, absolutely not, because remember that year we got arrested for underage drinking, so we were under 21.
20. You were 20.
I was 19. I was going to be 20 in the following August.
Okay, I think I was 20 then. I was 20.
Yeah.
Just
so, see what I mean?
Right, you were a teenager at 19. Sure.
I was a teenager. I was. So we were in our flat one night and we were waiting on our friend Lynn coming because we were expecting Lynn coming. She had a room in her apartment and there were 3 of us arrived already and Lynn was the 4th one coming. So Lynn got off the flight from Glasgow to New York, got to New Jersey from New York, and she came to our door. And I remember it was raining in New Jersey that night. And she came to the door and we're like, who's this you've got with you? And she was like, hi, this is my friend Michelle. She's from Paisley, but I met her on the plane. She doesn't have a job and she doesn't have anywhere to stay. Can she stay with us tonight?
I think I did have the job. I did have the ride operator job, but I hadn't quite sussed out the accommodation.
But everything with you and Michelle, everything just falls into place.
Exactly. Even back then, when I wasn't fully aware, really.
And look, now that basically formed a relationship that led to a business that completely changed your life.
I know, it's wild, and we were in Wildwood. That's where we were working for the summer. Wildwood. That's we met, and it was so good, wasn't it? I think that was honestly one of the best summers of my life. I know a lot happened for you, you know, getting arrested and stuff like that, but it was a really great summer. It was a great summer of just pure fun and lots of underage drinking in bars in the US. It was great.
But also a lot of hard work. Americans work hard. They work long hours and not a lot of pay. And then the jobs that those Americans were not willing to do, they employed students from the other side of the world to come over and do. Yeah. And that's the one that we ended up doing. So
exactly. Yeah. We were working like 60 hours a week. It was insane. Like every day, longest shifts ever. And getting paid like $3. It was great. Best summer of our lives. So that's how Meg and I met. And then a few years later, so that would have been 2009. So we met 2005, obviously stayed pals. And then you introduced me to Arbonne in 2009. That's like quite a few years later. I didn't realize about a few years.
And then that's how, so we've been in business together for all of those years, and obviously gone through many a time, many stories, many ups and downs to our business, and then friendships, and lots of stuff has happened personally. I mean, you know, I think I've moved 20 million times. You've got married, had kids, done lots of other stuff as well. So there's been a lot that's happened. But I was just curious to speak to you, Meg, because, you know, you really did come from a very sort of traditional upbringing and childhood, and you can chat about that in a second, but you really came from that sort of traditional place, and now, and you have been for such a long time, a full-time entrepreneur, and you've got your own podcast now as well, which you can talk about. So I just wanted to share this story because I really believe that a lot of people listening either are curious about that journey, or maybe want to start something like that, or maybe just want to start something alongside their job, or want to sort of get out of where they are now, and that sort of traditional sort of system of just, you know, working every day for someone else and doing the same thing every day. Or I think some people that listen to this are experienced entrepreneurs and just might get some inspiration from how you do it all, because obviously you have got a lot of things, like you're spinning lots of plates. So I know there's a lot of people listening that are experienced but would love to be inspired, or just get your little tips on how you do it each day. Because you've been doing it for a long time, probably, and way before it was cool as well. You know, I think everyone wants to be an entrepreneur these days and start side businesses, but it's really knowing what it takes to do it all and how you actually manage it. So I would just love for you to share just your background, like where you grew up, like what was your like upbringing, like school, education, and was that maybe you can weave this in as well, but was your entrepreneurial spirit there? Were you a bit like, you know, academic, or were you not, or did you have other people around you that were role models? So that's a lot of questions, but feel free to just share what it was like growing up, basically.
So I am very privileged to say that I had a wonderful upbringing. Actually, my grandfather was a man called Robert Wiseman, who basically started the biggest dairy in the UK. It's now sold and it's now called Muller Dairies. But it was a very big deal for us growing up. And he that was my grandfather, my mum's father. And it was actually his sons that really led the business to be what it was. So he was a milkman. And then his sons, my uncles, took the local milk business and the milk truck, and they bought a machine that could put milk in the glass bottles. Wow. And that's the kind of life that I grew up in. They became millionaires. My mum was never part of the business because she was a female. She became a nurse, and she had a completely different kind of path of life. She excelled at what she did. She was brilliant at what she did, but we got to watch that kind of entrepreneurial journey from afar. And seeing both of those sides of that coin just really showed me what was possible growing up. You know, it's always, I went to a really good school, I had incredible parents. It was always kind of made clear to me that I could achieve whatever I wanted in life. My mum used to always say, you know, the world is your oyster. But it was very much, but you have to go to uni first and follow that path first. And the way to make money is to go and get a job first, and, you know, join graduate career path and all of that kind of thing. So I remember when I actually started school when I was 3, so I was much younger than everyone else. And then on the other side of it, when I was nearly 16, I had all my hires and I was ready to go to uni. But I was too young, so I took to go to dance college, and where my parents saying, listen, you can go to dance college as long as it's for 1 year, then you go to university, because this education that you have isn't to be a dancer. So it was very much achieve what you want, but this is the most likely way to do it. So I did go to I went and did my dance for a year. Found out I wasn't actually that good a dancer. I was okay, but I was never going to make it. So that was made clear to me. It was actually quite harsh. They measure all your limbs and basically tell you that you don't have the body to be a ballet dancer and stuff like that. But anyway, that's
That's a whole other story. That's a whole other podcast.
I know.
Jeez.
Well, there was plenty other points that was made clear to me, not just the measuring of the limbs, but they measure your legs and all that kind of stuff, and they look at the turnout of your foot when they're basically assessing as to whether you'll be able to make it in London or not.
Wow.
But it was never going to be my thing. I was going to uni, and that was the path that I was on. So I went to uni and I studied business and psychology, and I studied business because I thought, I don't want to have a normal job. I know the power of business. I want to be able to do something different. I just don't know what that is. And I thought they'll teach me how to open my own. But they didn't. Maybe they do now, but back then they taught me how to be part of someone else's. So I graduated with this bit of paper, which used to mean a lot for my parents' generation, but actually didn't mean that much. It did get me a job in marketing, which I fell into. And it was just when I'd started that marketing job that I heard about Arbonne. And when my friend Emma and her mum spoke to me about Arbonne, I signed up straight away. I was so excited about it. And then I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to do this business. It's amazing. Marketing business that we both now do. And of course, my parents said, Meg, these things don't work in Scotland. They work in America. This is a pipe dream. It's too good to be true. The only evidence that you have that this works is someone who lives in America. At the time, she was actually married to a 70s entertainer. She was basically famous. And they said, this is probably not going to work. You should probably go and get a real job. And at the time, my self-esteem, my self-confidence and also my confidence in the business side of it wasn't strong enough to say, no, actually, you're wrong. This is going to work.
Yeah.
I actually stopped. I stopped the business after about a week. And waited to see how my friend would get on. And then a year later, she was still doing it, and it was still going really well. And that's when I decided to do it again for the second time and not speak to anyone about it this time, just make my own decision, do it. And one of the first things that we do when we start a business is say, if you had an incredible business and you have a boardroom table, who do you know who you love to climb a mountain with? Who do you know who would be so fun to work with? Who do you know who would, who wants more from life? Who do you know who's on a path of wanting something more from life? And those people are the people that you want to speak to about your business. And you were literally the first person.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that. It's so funny.
I met in Wildwood.
They turned up at the doorstep unannounced. Yeah, she'll be great. Let's speak to Michelle.
You were a high flyer at that point. You'd gone and worked in London, and you were living in London, weren't you?
Yeah, I was living in London at the time, and I was like on that path, like you said, that sort of traditional path that your parents were like, you have to go to uni and get the job. So I was doing it as well. Like I was like, oh yeah, like I've been to uni, I'm in the graduate job, I'm working in London, like I'm so successful and amazing. Yeah. But then when I spoke to you, I was also like, wow, that sounds incredible too. Why not both? And I think that's the thing. So actually, we were laughing about this just before the podcast, because we were saying, I was sort of saying to Meg, like, what did you do? Like, just let's talk about what you did before Arbonne. You're like, I was a toddler, a teenager. Which actually in business sense we were, like in terms of learning capabilities and where we were at, we were literally babies and toddlers because we had no clue apart from studying some modules at uni. But as you said, they didn't really teach us business or how to run our own business. It's how to run someone else's. Yeah. So how long did you stay in your job? Because you got that marketing job and then you started Arbonne.
I have worked for 2 proper job companies. You do the job. I've had 2 proper jobs basically in my life, both marketing jobs. So I worked for one marketing agency in Edinburgh for a year.
Yeah, that's right.
Left that job, started working for another marketing job in Glasgow at the same time, basically, as I started my Arbonne business. That job for another year until I gave up my full-time job to do Arbonne as my main gig.
That's amazing. So when was that? What year was that? 2010?
I have no idea. I actually don't know, it was 13 years ago, 2010. Yeah, 2010.
Yeah. So how amazing. Honestly, I just need to recognize you for that, Meg, because one, doing it at a time where it wasn't really a thing. Like, people talk about side hustles and entrepreneurship and all that now, but 10 years ago, especially for our age, and it just wasn't really a thing. And then to come through the last 10 years and continue to build your business, and Arbonne has been like, yeah, your main source of income for over a decade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Actually incredible.
And I started it when I was young, free and single. I had a boyfriend, but I got married to him, and now I have 2 kids, and it's seen me through 2 maternity leaves, and now getting to pick the kids up from school, getting to drop them off, spend the summer holidays with them. Honestly, with summer holidays right now, and I do not know how women do it who have families and full-time jobs. Well, I do pay a fortune for childcare. That's how you do it. Or heavily on family, and it's difficult, and this has allowed me the flexibility to actually be with my kids. And I mean, sometimes I would love to go to an office, and don't get me wrong, but it's enabled me the flexibility to make the kind of choices that I've always wanted to have. And that's something that when I was younger, I always wanted to be able to choose when I go to the dentist. Everybody has to go to the dentist. I just hated the thought of having to fill out a form and say, can I go to the dentist this day? And I know a lot of workplaces are much more flexible than that, and you can do home working and you can work from home whenever you've got things on, and you don't even have to tell them that you're going to the dentist. But I was in an office environment, it was very structured, and you literally had to every hour. And it's just not the way that I wanted to live my life. And I knew there was something else, but the only business that I've been exposed to was a big traditional business, like a milk business, a dairy business. Completely the opposite now. I sell vegan nutrition. But I didn't ever want to grow up and be an Arbonne lady. I didn't ever want to go and sell lipstick. I was never into products. But I did know that I wanted to work with cool people. I wanted to choose how I spent my time. I wanted to be able to plan my life around my work rather than my work the other way around. And it's a freedom that I believe everyone should have, but it's still something that people just don't think is possible. A lot of people just don't even know that option is there without going and starting a traditional business or being clued up on how to work businesses online. You know, so I hear a lot of people starting businesses online now, and I think I wouldn't have a clue how to start anything like that. You know, different things that are popping up now with all sorts of online opportunities. They are there if you know what you're doing online, but I feel like we're the generation who we kind of know what we're doing online, but we're not equipped in it enough to be able to just go and make money on it straight away without a system and someone telling you to, okay, do this first, okay, next do this. I'll help you do this. Okay, let's do this together. And that's what appealed to me. It was the doing it with the friends and the community and choosing who you work with. Actually make money to fund the lifestyle that you want to be able to live.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd just like to pick up on that, what you said. I mean, I think, so I don't know about you, but I sometimes take for granted what we've had. We have literally, like, any obstacle we've had in business, I'm like, right, Meg, let's have a chat about this. And we've brainstormed it, come up with a solution, implemented it, and been like, right, okay, cool, we've got over that. But a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they don't have that. I mean, again, there's networking events, especially for women in business and all that coming up. We've had that since the beginning, and we always have that, where we get to speak with one another and work our way through the business. Obviously celebrate one another, but obviously get through those tough things as well.
Yeah, and that's so powerful in terms of actually running your business and getting your business from A to B or getting over an obstacle. But there's also the loneliness of being a traditional business owner or self-employed. I'm part of a networking group called the Glasgow Girls Club, and it's incredible. It's full of incredible women, but a lot of them are self-employed, and without this networking group, they're literally at home working online themselves. So they have to go a networking group like this, for accountability and for the camaraderie and the community aspect, we have all of that. Also the training and the personal growth and the confidence building and everything that we have built into one lifestyle, really, which is what I would describe what we have as.
Yeah, totally. And you spoke about how you, like, you know, that moment. I was actually talking in the last episode about it needs to be something that really pisses you off. And it was so funny to hear you say, I didn't want to have to write a note to go to the dentist. It really, you know, but that structured approach to work and being in a job obviously sort of pissed you off and you were like, I hated it. Was it just that, or was there anything else? I'm just trying to think. You never really touched on your younger years. Obviously you were part of an entrepreneurial family, but was there anything else? Because you were like, I just knew. Was there anything else that sort of influenced you at that time, or anything you came across?
Well, I wasn't pissed off with anything in my life, to be honest, but I just knew what I wanted it to look like, and I knew that I wanted to have that freedom. And I think having that traditional way of life and that traditional work life, having experienced that for a while, I just realised that it wasn't for me. You know, sometimes, particularly as a young woman, I think that office environment can look quite glamorous. You know, you get to wear cool outfits and you get to get your nails done and, you know,
and type away.
And it's all cool for 5 minutes. That it's not, and you don't get to make any decisions, and you want to take that control back in your life and actually make the decisions that will determine where you're going. And it doesn't take you long to realize that you will never make more money than your boss because they run the company. So they may give you a promotion, but if you have goals or dreams or desires to be somewhere else in 5 years' time, for me, when I started my business, I was driving a complete banger of a car, which I was so grateful for because I'd had it since I was 17, but it was a banger nonetheless. I didn't have my own home. I didn't have much money behind me. I came from a lovely family, but that wasn't my money. So if I wanted to create a life for myself, then I had to go and make more money. And then I would look at this ladder and think, wait a minute, if I want to achieve this and live in a different house and go on different trips, drive a different car and have a certain lifestyle for my children, then I need to be doing something else, because there's a gap between my salary and the whatever it's going to rise every year. I actually started my Arbonne business and started basically working full time in 2008 during the last big recession that we had, and paychecks were not increasing. Workload was increasing. Nobody was getting paychecks. Both of the jobs I actually had now no longer exist because the companies, the roles that I left out of choice were made redundant. So the people who replaced me were made redundant. So I had something to fall back on. I had something to build before I actually needed it. So I got to hand in my notice and say, okay, I'm leaving before any of that hit the fan. But I feel like the conversations that we've had and being around the people who were around the community that we had with Arbonne really was a lifeline, because we were able to foresee a lot of the things that then followed. The fact that, you know, you needed a plan B and you need to build something else, and your job is not necessarily as secure as you once thought it was. And that definitely did play out in my life when I look at what happened after I left. And I was just so grateful to have something else. Be able to function and be able to actually achieve what I wanted to achieve. And that's something else that I always wanted. I was always driven and determined, and I was a really hard worker. Still am a really hard worker, not dead. Still am a really it really appealed to me, the fact that I could work hard and be paid more money. And that was a direct correlation. Whereas my experiences in the working world were very different. I would work hard and go home with the same amount of money or less than the person sitting next to me. And that really grinded my gears. That me. Able to see another way of work correlating, your effort correlating to your take-home pay. Really, and that's probably what actually put me over the line.
Yeah, totally. Getting paid what you're worth and what you've worked for, simply. And so, okay, so if you think about over a decade, I know you could share lots, what would be your learnings or some of your aha moments? Like, what have you really learned in those 10 years? We could be here forever.
10 years of learning and reply in about 2 minutes, that'd be great.
And go.
So much of it has been personal growth, and it's not necessarily directly related to entrepreneurship, which I know this podcast is about, but the one thing that really just stood out to me there when you asked that was taking responsibility for your circumstance. And I think so often we act like the victim in our life, and our life has happened to us and our circumstances have happened to us, and the reason we are here is because all of this happened to us. But I would just challenge that and think, what if it's happening for you though? What if everything that you have been through has led you to this point for a reason, and it's not clear right now, but you're taking responsibility for where you are and deciding on where you want to go next, and actually taking a step towards that is really not an easy thing to do. In fact, it feels so scary, but it's always the right thing to do. You feel so far out of your comfort zone that you're literally nervous and you're shaking and you don't know where to go next. That is where you need to be. And I think so often we just spend so much of our life in the comfort zone, and we're like, okay, it's Monday, especially as a mum, especially as a parent. It's so easy to live your life through the school holidays and the working week, and you're literally like, right, okay, it's Monday, what do I need to think about on Monday? Okay, it's Tuesday, okay, Wednesday, 2 more days to the weekend, right, okay, the weekend, what do I need to think about in the weekend? And you're literally going from day to day to day to day. And if you treat your week like that, then your month will be like that and your year will be like that, and before you know it, you're 5 years down the line and you've not achieved what you want to achieve. So really taking responsibility for where you want to be and intentionally carving that out, and not just sitting and doing it, on January the 1st, but also every Sunday, how are you going to spend your time, and where is your time going to actually take you from where you are to where you want to be? Because you're not a victim, you're the writer, and you get to choose that, and you have to take that responsibility and decide how you're going to put that into play. And it doesn't happen by accident. You have to take control of it, and you have to take the steps towards that. But when you're willing to actually take the steps and take the pen and start carving it into motion, it's amazing how things just start to go in your path. You don't have to do the whole plan. You just have to start by knowing, I want something more than I currently have. I'm capable of doing more than I'm currently doing. And then honestly just sitting with a blank bit of paper and thinking, right, what am I happy about? What am I not happy about? What can I do? What action can I take? What small thing can I do today to take me a little bit closer to this? And then the momentum will build on that, and just capitalizing on that momentum as it builds is so much to be said for that, because when that's on your side, you gain so much more motion, and forward motion just will catapult you into where you want to be, and things just start being put in your path and things start working out because you started with that intention and you took responsibility, and it was just a moment where you thought, okay, we need more than this. We're not designed to be where we currently are. Let's do something about it.
And that's really key actually for the last decade of your business, is because that you were intentional and you did take responsibility, and that's why over a decade later it's still rippling, like, because you just decided to show up every day. And I really recognize you for that in Arbonne. Like, you have been a constant for me, like, because you obviously introduced me to Arbonne, but you didn't go anywhere. You stood firm. You were like, through everything, you were just like, whatever is going to come our way, we're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep setting intention. We're going to keep moving and doing that next step and taking responsibility. So I love that. And that, I'd say that sums up your last 10 years, because that's what you've done that's what you've chosen to do every day. So then it just works for you. Like, it just keeps rippling on. And I actually think what you said about it's not really entrepreneurship is this growth, the personal growth. And I actually think that's the biggest thing about entrepreneurship that most people miss. And I think especially in network marketing, especially in Arbonne, we have had the honor and privilege of that, because what I've realized in the last few years especially is what we know, just being a part of this community, is not a given, and about 95% of the world don't know it. they don't have access to this sort of like personal growth, or all trainings we received, or people just poured love into us for like over a decade. That's what it's been. Like, you can do this, you can believe in yourself. Like, these are the things that I did. People just were willing to share and pour love into us for such a long time. And I think when you're getting that, you're getting poured into every day for 10 years, of course that's going to have an effect on what you do.
Yeah, totally. And I think I actually find it hard to step out with that, because when I'm in that bubble, I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you need some help? There's something going on here. It's like, no, Meg, actually most people are like that. This big group is different. I feel like everyone's like that in the world, but they're not.
It's so true. Like, I need to check myself, because be like, we're all connected on socials, and then we see, and we're like, yeah, we're just in this bubble. We're like, yeah, like everything just works out for us. Everything is working out for us. And then you're like, ooh, what's going on?
Yeah. But do you know what? There's also a lot to be said for that, and you can tailor who you're surrounded by to feel like that, even if you're not physically surrounded by people. If they have the same last name as you and they're the least supportive people in your life, I know that that's often the case. But you can choose who you're surrounding yourself by listening to podcasts of people who are talking about entrepreneurship, or I feel like I'm speaking too slightly because you're listening to a podcast if you're listening to this conversation, but also turning off negative conversations, or just choosing not to say yes to that invite that it's going to be the same conversation that sucks the life out of you, or turn off the news. I know that's a bit of a controversial one. If you need to see the headlines, you can see them, but you don't have to watch it 24/7, because it will drain you. And just choosing and being really conscious of who you spend your time with, because it can really make a big difference to your life. And we are very fortunate that we are surrounded with incredible people who are, they're healthy and they're driven and they're looking for more, and not necessarily more as in more stuff or more money, but for more in their life. They're looking for that happiness, or that success, or that sense of calm that comes with being fulfilled in your life. And there's a lot to be said for that, just really being intentional with who you spend your time with.
Yeah, definitely. And so over the years, I know you launched a podcast. Was that about a couple of years ago, 2 years ago?
I did that in 2020 as a bit of a hobby.
2020. So tell us more about the podcast, and is there anything else you've done in the last few years?
No, I have property. So we've got a little bit of a property portfolio. And the podcast was started as a bit of a passion project during COVID. I thought, I'm going to do this, because we are surrounded so much with personal growth. It's something that I feel like I know a lot about. I've devoured books over the last 14 years. I always remember the first personal development book I read was recommended to me by you. And it was after the conversation that we had about Arbonne. We got to the bottom of the driveway, we went to our friend Caroline's house, and we got to the bottom of the driveway, and you said, Meg, have you read The Secret? And it's like, no, what is this? It's another one of Michelle's weird crystal things. It's the law of attraction. It's basically the secret to life. What you put out there, you get back. And I'm like, okay. So I bought the book, and the rest is history. And that really started my personal growth journey. And I started the podcast to help really mums to be able to build their life and their careers and their goals around about their kids. So going after goals while they're running after their kids, basically, because that's something that I felt like I really needed help with when I started. I was already had a business before I had children, but I found that transition difficult. With being self-employed or having your own business is you don't necessarily have that year off that other mums get. So most people who are employed, as soon as they're ready to drop about 2 weeks before they have a baby, they are just not working. So they have they're paid though, so they have no concerns about any business or work or anything like that for the whole year. So their only concerns are about feeding and sleeping and baby grows and all of this stuff. And am I actually a psychopath, or is this normal after you get child? Should bits be falling out where they are falling out right now? Should I be looking for them? Those are the kind of concerns that you have when you've got your children. But also, I was trying to learn how to do all of that while running a business, and then have another child on top of that. And I found that whole transition difficult. I found it difficult, and I found it difficult to learn how to do both things and how to manage my time better and block my time, and realize that I couldn't do it all and all of that. So for the last 7 years of my life, I've been a mum as my main thing. So I haven't done anything else in terms of income, but I've basically been grappling the world of being an entrepreneurial mum, which doesn't come easily. And that's where the podcast came from. All of those thoughts and moments that I had as a new mum.
And that's great. Yeah, go and check it out. It's called She Can Podcast. Definitely check it out, because there's loads on there. There's loads of great episodes. And there was something you said there that I was going to pick up on when you said about being a mum. Oh, that was it. It's like, do you think now, because obviously we are 10 years on and we've been running our businesses for a while, and like you said, you've done a bit of property now, and I've done a few other things, and so we're sort of in that mindset of looking for additional income streams. So we're a bit further on in our entrepreneurial journey. But would you say, I think there's a lot of people out there that are still in those jobs. Would you say that's right? They're still in those jobs, and probably where you were like 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and sort of struggling to work out, how can I be a mum and do this? Like, what would you say to those mums? Like, what for now, for today, in this day and age? And you know, you sort of left your job, but those people are probably still in them. Do you know what I mean?
You're still in that job, and you're juggling the kids, and you're juggling life, and you're thinking, I would love more from my life, but I just don't know either where to start, or how, in the name of the wee man, would I ever find more hours in my life to do anything. And I would just say, we all have the time, and it's easy for me to say that, I know, especially if you have more than 2 kids, but we do have the time. We've all got those hours. It's just where you choose to spend them. And there will be seasons in your life where you just have to prioritize your family life, and you just have to give your business a backseat. And there definitely has been moments like that in my career. But in a day-to-day setting, getting up earlier than the kids, if you possibly can. If your kids are under 2 years old, probably skip that bit, because you're probably sweating at me right now. But that's not for you. But if they're over 2 and you can possibly get up a little bit earlier than them, or put on Thomas the Tank or something for them, and while that's happening, you are working on yourself, you're doing a bit of journaling, doing a bit of meditation, reading a personal development book, moving your body a bit, just giving yourself half an hour even of time for you, or even bring the kids in on that. So when my kids do it with me, I always try and do it myself. It doesn't always work out like that, but we do affirmations together, and you hear them saying things like, I am strong, I am confident. You know, you can build your entrepreneurial career in with your family life. It doesn't necessarily have to be completely separate. So for example, what we do is recommend nutrition products and health and wellness products to people who are looking to feel better, who are looking to, you know, prioritize their gut health, prioritize their wellness, have more energy for your kids. So that's something that you can go on that journey with your kids. They can help you make a smoothie, they can help you make healthy food. That's a family journey. And then when you start to see that working for yourself, you start to think, everyone needs to know about this. And you start to tell your friends about it during conversations that you're already having. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a completely separate entity. When you do a business like the one that I do, if it is completely separate and it involves you being behind a laptop and purely focusing, then my advice to you would be, do get up an hour earlier than them, or you're going to have to work for a while when they go to bed. And I know it's not easy, and I know sometimes Netflix is like calling your name, like, but But if you want more from your life than you currently have, you're going to have to make some swaps and you're going to have to make some changes, and that time is there. But sometimes we're just not utilising it to the best of our ability. And sometimes it is allocated to things like Netflix or things like reading a novel. Maybe you want to change your reading a novel to reading something that's actually going to build your business, because you have that there. Delegating as well. You don't have to wash all your own socks. You can hire a cleaner. And I know sometimes it is expensive, but if you can find the money to hire a cleaner, then it means that those hours, 1 hour a week or 2 hours a month or whatever it is, it just gives you a little bit of headspace to work your business. And there are businesses that can be worked in those short spaces of time. So don't think you have to look for 9 to 5 hours. You don't need 20 hours a week to build a business. You're literally looking for those wee gaps. A lot of the time that I send messages, I'm like, in the toilet. That's the reality of life. Where I used to sit in the car when the kids were sleeping and the kids are napping in their car seats. I'd be sitting on my phone in the front of the car. When there's a will, there's a way. And when you want something bad enough, you can make it happen. So don't feel like you've got to this stage in life and now you're a mum and now there's so much stuff to do and now you can't do anything else. You can. You absolutely can. And there's so much help out there available to you. And I would love to have that conversation with you. If you're sitting there listening to this thinking, maybe I could do something else, then please reach out to me and maybe I can help you do that. And you know, it's something that you're always going to regret if you don't do it. If you've got that thing that's like drip, 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 it's a constant dripping tap, and it's always telling you, you should do that thing. You should do that thing. You should go and write that book or start that course or read the course or whatever it is. There's something that's like a constant dripping tap in your mind. You just have to listen to it. Don't get to a stage in your life where it really is too late and then you regret it.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. I'm trying to think what else I was going to ask. I think we've covered off quite a lot. We have. Is there anything else you would like to share in the spirit of ending this season of entrepreneurship? This is the last episode. Is there anything else you would love to share with the community of I've Got Your Back?
I would say that you don't have to overthink entrepreneurship. Often we feel like an outsider looking into a different world, and even now when people ask me to talk about entrepreneurship, I don't necessarily feel like I'm part of that, because I'm just a mum who builds her business while their kids are sleeping. You don't have to overthink it. If you work for yourself, if you build something by yourself, you're an entrepreneur, and that can be as part of a bigger umbrella, like the way Michelle and I do with our network marketing company, or it can be you doing your own thing. It can be you teaching businesses how to become a B Corp like Michelle does, or making your own cards or anything. You don't have to overthink it. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just start somewhere and don't feel like you have to have the whole plan, because so often, particularly as women, I'm going to tar us all with the same brush here, we often overthink things and we want things to be perfect, and we don't want to start stuff because what will people think, or how what would I know, because I don't have those letters after my name. The thing is, nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. I have a friend who's she's so good at interiors. She's so good at thinking about interiors. She's always been put off doing anything with that because she doesn't have the letters after her name. Who cares?
I know, no one.
Would you come and stay in my house? Show me your degree certificate though, please, first. Nobody cares. If you're not qualified in something, it doesn't matter. If you're good at it, that's what matters. And remember, done is better than perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Your first draft of something is never going to be perfect. Your first episode of something is never going to be perfect. It just has to be done. And when you do something first, you start to feel good about it, and you do it a little bit better the next time and a little bit better the next time, and you're going to make mistakes. I say we, I mean, I shouldn't take you into this, Michelle.
We are the we. Definitely bring men.
So many mistakes over the last 14 years, and that's even with a business that literally it's like laid out in front of me. There's so many conversations that sometimes I go over in my head and I think, oh, Can you believe we did that? Can you believe that actually came out our mouths? Like,
So totally.
change and you move on, but
Yeah.
it's always a bigger deal to you in your own head than it is
Mm.
to anyone else. They've forgotten about it way before you have.
Yeah.
So don't let the thought of other people or the aim of being perfect get in your way, because those two are the biggest killers of your dream out there. And so many books are left unwritten and songs are left unsung because of those two stupid fears that really have, and it's completely just false.
Yeah.
So make a move and just start it. So I would say.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you are the queen of that, because even when we were speaking about podcasts, I remember that I wanted to start my podcast around about the same time as you in 2020. But I did, obviously I got distracted with some other things in the middle. But I remember you were just like, done is better than perfect. And you had the first episode out in like, I think it was like 3.2 seconds. I don't know. It just felt very quick, you know. And you are the queen of just like doing that. Done is better than perfect. And you're the first to initiate things. And I think it's a really, really important thing. It's a great message to finish on, actually. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time, Meg, and thank you for always having my back. And I've always got yours.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you so much for having me as a guest.
Yay. Speak to you soon, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I so appreciate your time. And as a thank you, and especially for this season, which is all about entrepreneurship, it's so important to look after yourself from a mind, a body, and a spirit point of view. So as a gift, you can download my Yoga Nidra practice from my website. And this is a guided meditation to really regenerate your mind, your body, and your soul. I hope you enjoy, and I'll speak to you soon.